Because a lot of people are like, nah, did I get retired in 10 years? That can't happen.
Not with the job I have.
See, there you go. Change your mindset, girl.
Change your mindset. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Shut Up and Thrive, the podcast that will inspire you to live your best life.
3 best friends who have been growing, motivating, and inspiring each other.
I'm Vanilla. I bring the fun.
And this is Claudia, the passionate one.
And your girl Nair, sprinkling in the creativity.
When you listen to Shut Up and Thrive, it will remind you of your chats with your own BFFs.
Join in every week as we discuss all the things that make you want to shut up and thrive.
So, are you ready?
Let's get into the conversation.
Woo, woo. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Shut Up and Thrive. So how are we doing today, ladies?
Hi, ladies. How are we doing?
Pretty good.
That's nice. How are we feeling, Naya?
Feeling great.
Very good. I'm also feeling great.
That didn't sound convincing.
It's early, you know.
Not really, but okay.
It's
early for you.
The sun is out.
Early.
It's beautiful.
It's
cold, but the sun is beautiful.
True. All right. So are we ready to jump into today's topic?
Let's jump into the topic.
Let's jump right in. So today we're going to be doing a continuation of a previous topic. We're going to continue our money talks. So to our audience that's listening, if you haven't heard that first episode, I suggest maybe you go back and listen to that one and then come back and listen to this one, because we're going to kind of be going through different stages when it comes to money. So y'all ready?
So that episode was money mindset, right?
Yeah. So just working on getting your mindset in a state that you are attracting money, right? Growing your wealth. And today we're going to talk a little bit about financial freedom, what that actually means, and how we can take steps to get to being free.
Like we're not free already.
I mean, you tell me. You're going to tell me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know your financial situation. Maybe you are financially free. Based on the idea.
No, Claudia was making a joke because you said free. She's like, wait, we're not free. Because you were like being free.
I mean, it depends on how you define free.
Define freedom.
Define freedom.
Well, you do know that, what did they say? Freedom is the new rich.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Before we get started on like definitions and technicality, I want you guys to think. If you didn't have to work, right? So you are quote unquote free. You don't need to work to make money. If you didn't have to get up and go to work every day, what would you do? Paint me a picture of what your ideal day would look like.
What would my day be if I didn't have to set an alarm clock?
Yeah, you don't have any obligations to go into work. You don't have to get up to make money. Like the money's already there.
Damn, I'd be rich.
Right. Okay. Besides that, you're rich. You're about to start your day. How does your day start?
My day would start with more relaxing. I think I would start with some stretching and drinking tea and listening to music, meditating, and that kind of lifestyle. That yogi lifestyle, maybe.
All right. So take us through your day from the time you get up to the time you go to bed.
My day would flow. I don't know if I can actually, it depends where I'm living. I definitely wouldn't be living anywhere cold. So maybe I could just wake up and like throw on bathing suit and go outside, or throw on some yoga clothes and go for a hike.
Ooh.
Would I wake up early? Probably would, just because I can. I think I would wake up early. Like I said, I would definitely have a routine of self-wellness, self-healing, making sure I'm healthy physically, mentally, spiritually. And then I would eat very good stuff. I think I would eat after eating, probably do something that brings me joy. It's either I don't know, so much stuff bring me joy, but it would
Okay,
have to
pick
be
one.
it would have to be me joining something that dealt with people. Like I wasn't going to be alone for the rest of the day. The morning would definitely be like a solo thing, but throughout the day, I mean, I don't care if my evening ended at a party or whatever, but it would be joining others, doing something productive and fun.
Okay.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to think about that right on top, right? Like off the bat.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but I think it's an exercise that we should do. I mean, if you believe in like manifestation, right? If you believe in that and the law of attraction, then that's something they teach you is being able to actually visualize like what you want to be doing with yourself because your brain can't tell the difference between something that you've lived or something that you've just imagined, right? Because it's going to view it the same way. For me, I do a lot of that as I'm going to sleep. So, sometimes it's hard for people to fall asleep because they're thinking about, oh, tomorrow I have to do this, or, I got
That's
into a
me.
fight. Yeah, like you constantly have thoughts going in your brain. So I try to like get into a meditative state where I'm walking myself through my ideal day. So like where I'm living, what I'm seeing, what I'm doing, and just kind of like ease into sleep that way. It's just a tool that
So
I
you
use.
ease into sleep of
Like daydreaming in a sense.
of tomorrow or of
No,
how the day went by. I'm not saying that's
no,
far tomorrow.
Where
Like,
she wants to be.
what my ideal day would be. Like if I was financially free, how I would be living my life. That's what I'm like imagining in my brain as I'm falling asleep.
oh, okay, that's a routine that. Okay, I see.
All right, Claudia, how about you? Take us through your ideal financially
My
free day.
ideal financial freedom day. No alarm clocks. I don't want to hear the sound of an alarm. I want to wake up naturally. When my body tells me to wake up with the sun hitting my face, maybe the sound of like trees, winds, ocean. So like a peaceful place. So like when I get up, it's just like, this is where I'm at. Yes, this is where I want to be. Obviously physical. I got to have my cup of coffee before I leave the house.
The best coffee
And
on the world, right?
the best coffee in the world. And then it's either gym, hike, something physical to get my energy going. I love doing that when I wake up early in the morning. My day just feels so much better after I work out early in the morning. Come home, shower, eat something, nutritious, the stuff that I like to eat, whatever it is. Hopefully it would be fruit. So I'm financially free. So that means I have money. I'm able to buy the good of the good all the time. So my fridge is stacked. And I would definitely include shopping.
I can't.
Can't get away from the shopping.
Can't get away from shopping. Even if I don't buy, I would be out in the world enjoying the sights. And I love shopping, so being at the stores like just revives me to see, oh, dude, that's a new outfit. Look at those new shoes. That's what's coming back on style. And then like a dinner out with friends, socializing. My friends are always a part of my days. And then probably a night thing, probably by the beach.
Okay, girl.
Just like relax, my partner with me or not, just me. And then home, where the heart is, sitting outside, overlooking the moon, because I love the moon and the stars, and hopefully falling asleep right out there. I really don't care for the bed.
So you can actually envision where in the world you would
Yes.
live?
I would love to be around trees and mountains. Like the beach could be near, but I really don't have to walk the sand when I get out of my bed.
Well, I guess when we're financially independent, I won't see Claudia.
She'd be up in the mountains.
She'd be too far.
I'll go find you at the beach. Like I'll be in the mountains. When I want to go down to the beach, I'll go find you.
I'll be the lunch. We'll do the lunch thing.
Yeah, the lunch.
No, I think if when we are, I think we'll be in different corners of the world.
Different parts of the world. And that's why I get on a plane. I'm coming over.
I mean, we're kind of like that now, even though we're in the same city.
True.
No, we can say let's go out for let's go
Yeah,
get a
we
Well,
can
drink or
when
let's
we're
go
plan.
get
when
food,
we're
and we
financially
can.
free, we can do that too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Jump on a plane and, I'll see you tomorrow.
sounds good.
All
Naya,
right.
your turn.
My turn. Okay, so for me, I'm definitely waking up to the sound of the ocean, waves crashing. Yeah, so I'm listening to the ocean, waking up, slow morning, because I am definitely not a morning person. So no alarm clocks. I'm taking my time, getting up, getting out of bed, maybe do a little bit of meditation, have my cup of coffee, and then I would do something like some type of exercise, right? So, like you guys, hiking, swimming, or just a workout at home, whatever, just something to get me moving. I would definitely be eating a lot of delicious fruits, like very, like not the fruits we have here.
Exotic, the exotic
Yeah,
ones
and
you
Yeah.
like
don't find.
flavorful that actually have a taste. So, which means I probably be someplace tropical.
Or have a nice subscription to a nice
True.
place that
That will
delivers the
sends it to
delish
me.
food.
Yep. It's in your
True,
fridge
true.
stacked.
I kind of feel like I would have a chef because I don't like to cook. So would
You
prepare
don't?
my breakfast. I don't like to cook. I mean, when I'm in the state of cooking, it's therapeutic and meditative, but it's not like I
Hmm.
love to cook. I'm not a person that like, oh yeah, like I can't wait to make this recipe. No.
Yeah.
I like to eat. I just don't like to prepare the food. So my chef would prepare like delicious food for me. So yeah, so I would do something physical, something fun, like moving my body. And then I would also spend some of my day doing something creative, right? So it could be like painting, drawing, it could be, whatever, working on the computer, making visual
Dancing.
design. Dancing might come later in the
It's like, I
evening, but like something to express my creativity. So I'll definitely be doing that. Probably spend most of my day doing that because I can get kind of lost in that routine.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then I definitely would see myself going to the beach, laying out, like taking the sun rays. I would have a nice dinner, either with like Claudia, either with friends or like have a romantic dinner with my partner. Sit somewhere where I can watch the sunset. Like I would love to watch the sun go down every night, like every day, just watch the sunset and then spend my evenings like reading my millions of books that I like to read. But yeah, like very like I want to be able to nourish my mind, my body, and my soul like every day. Just be able to do something that kind of touches each one of those parts.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
And that was just Monday. So how would your Tuesday look, ladies? Let's go through the whole week.
Yeah, so that would be like a typical day. But like for me, like traveling is going to be a big part of my life. So when I think about quote unquote being financially free, traveling, not every day, obviously. So that's why I didn't say it, but occasionally traveling, probably take like 3 or 4 trips a year because that's something that I definitely have to have in my life.
Cool. Traveling. Okay. Financial independent. Yes. What we said we would love to be, how we would see ourselves. We do have children and partners. Does that mean both you and your partner would be at that same level of, well, obviously a financial freedom, but sometimes you have a partner who's like, no, I'm still going to work because you
Okay,
have
that's on him.
So how would you try to convince them that, you don't have to because we're going to Arizona like tomorrow, coming back in 3 days or
Yeah, I mean, lucky for me, my partner and I were like on the same page. Like we're both not trying to work. You know what I mean? We're not trying to work till we're old. So we're both on that same wavelength where we're trying to get to a position where we don't have to work. But if he still feels like, I still want to do some work, I still want to do this or that, fine, he can do whatever he wants. He can imagine what his day looks like, whether it involves me or not. I would hope a piece of the day would involve me since we're partners, but the majority of his day, even though we're not going to work, he's going to go do what he loves to do while I go do what I love to do. And then hopefully at the end we come together.
Or maybe have like 2 or 3 days that's kind of focused on that. And then the other days just to be like, oh, sorry, babe, I'm going to the beach. Then I'm going to yoga. Then I'm going to meet my girls. Then I'm going to go paint at the mountains. And I'll see you at like 10 p.m. or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess, it's the freedom of being having enough money to.
It's the freedom of it's having enough money that you don't have to worry about making money, and you have the freedom to do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. The freedom to choose how you want to spend your time. How's that?
All right, we got 24 hours in the day. How am I going to spend 24 hours without having to close myself into a 10-hour shift day for bringing in money, because that money's already coming in.
So
I guess it's easier. Definitely not waking up and that rush to get out and then
that rat race.
That rush to come back and go do the, what's going to be for dinner. It's Friday. Let's clean the house. It's basically cutting up all the things that I do now. Like,
or
waking up with an alarm and cleaning and cooking and.
Right. It's being able to cut out the things you don't like to do. Like for me, I don't like to cook. Like, I can cook. I'll cook because I have to cook. But if I can have somebody cook for me, then I'm going to choose that. If I can have somebody clean the house for me, then I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? Because I don't have to do it. So that takes us to financial freedom. Like, what is the definition of financial freedom? Sometimes we might think like, oh, that means being rich. But to me, I think they're two different things, because there are people who are financially free, but they're not rich in the sense of how people think of rich, right? When you think of rich, you think of like you just have unlimited amount of money. There are people that are financially free, but they live on a budget, right? They don't have unlimited amount of money. So the financial freedom or financial independence basically means that all of your expenses are covered without you having to go to work to make that money, right? So you're making enough money in passive income that it covers all of your expenses. So when I say passive income, right, there's two types of income. There's active income and there's passive income. Most of us who have a job have active income, right? We go to an employer and we're basically trading our time for money, right? We give 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours. Yeah, you're 9 to 5. You're giving that time to your employer, and then in return, they're giving you money. Passive income, it means you have systems or businesses set up where you can technically
Did you say that was
passive income.
Okay.
You can just be sleeping, you can be doing whatever you want, and money is coming in. So your investments, and I can break down investments, is generating the money for you without you actively having to work for that money. So when we think of becoming financially free and independent, we have to set up different, it doesn't have to be different, it could be one way, but you have to set something up where that money is coming to you without you having to actively work for it.
Forever. Because somehow you would work on it beforehand.
Yeah. So most of the time you have to actively work to get to that point. But, we can talk a little bit about that. So another thing too, I wanted to touch up on is saving versus investing. So when
and I love these teachy episodes.
I mean, I'm setting it up. Then you guys can chime in. You guys can chime in. Good. But okay, like I just mentioned, setting up your passive income. So what do you think are some ways to have passive income?
So the passive is investments in generating without having to actually work. Property, yep, that's good.
Real estate.
Owning property, real estate.
What else?
Selling a product?
I mean, that can go both ways. I mean, let's say you own a store. You're kind of active because you have to go to that store. You have to open the store. You have to manage the store.
Or pay somebody to do it.
Or pay somebody to do it. Then it becomes passive. You're just an owner. You're not an active employee in the business. So owning a business where you don't that you've already set up all those systems, right? So real estate,
investing
business
in
owner,
the stock market and stuff.
Yes, stock investing.
How about you? Give us some.
Those are the three main ones: being an owner of a business or a company, real estate, and there's different forms of real estate too, and investing in the stock market. So most people become financially free by investing in the stock market. It's one of the
most people, you said?
Yeah, most people.
Is this like research found? Like,
yeah, I mean, from what I know.
Okay. And
investing
didn't say research, I meant this is like data, facts and stuff.
I'm not giving facts because I don't have actual resources to point
so,
you
but
to.
It's, but
it's
what you learned, it's over real estate and over business.
Most
people have a combination of real estate and the stock market. So for real estate, some people will buy a property, sell it, and make money off of it. Other people will buy property and rent out apartments and have that income coming in from their tenants. So that's one way. And the other major way is the stock market. The stock market is going to probably be more passive than real estate. Do you agree? Because you're literally just putting your money into those companies in the stock market, and it's going to generate interest and dividends. So we'll get more into that when we actually talk about investment. So that will be its own separate episode. But most people are going to get rich by investing, unless you win the lottery, unless somebody gives you money. But in order for you to make your money, you have to make your money work for you. And another thing I want to touch on is you, of course, have to try and increase your income, right? So two things you need to do: decrease your expenses and increase your income. You can only decrease your expenses so far, right?
Right.
So you don't want to decrease your expenses to the point that you're not spending any money. You got nothing. You don't have a house. You don't have a car. You don't have food. You need those things, right? I mean, you don't need a car, but you need a place to live and you need food, definitely. So there's only so much you can cut back. If you are spending less than what you are making, then you're in a position where the rest of that money you can start to invest it. And that's how you get on the steps to becoming financially independent. And the reason why I want to bring up saving versus investment is saving is great, but you're not going to get as much return from saving your money as you are from investing. You will not be on
the road of financial freedom, just saving.
No, because your money sitting in a bank is actually losing value rather than it is. Because every year we have what we call inflation. So every year things are getting more and more expensive. So 5 years ago, to buy a carton of eggs may have been $1, and now it's $3. You know what I mean? Things like that. So that dollar that you saved 5 years ago can't even buy you that carton of eggs today because it costs $3. So your money is losing value if it's sitting in a savings account. So I think it's important, especially for our community, because a lot of people don't, quote unquote, trust the stock market, which is a major way to getting to that point where you're financially independent. And it's the education that's really going to get us there. So if you educate yourself on the stock market, now you know how it works. Now you know how to put your money in there, right? So I wanted to put that in there because that's going to be key for all of us in order to get to that point where we're financially independent.
And sorry to cut you off. I just want to say that I love these topics that we have because obviously we're learning, we're thriving together, but it puts it out there to have professionals or more people who knows best to chime in and help us out, just send their gems so we can keep learning. So just want to put that out there.
And again, the whole topic of investing, I can keep going, but I'm going to stop there.
Go, girl, keep going.
Because there's a lot to it. That's another episode. But I really want to drive the point across that there are people who retire in their 30s, in their 40s, right? In their 50s, which is a lot sooner than a lot of people who are in their 60s and 70s and still working. You know what I mean? I heard someone say that retirement is not an age, it's a number in your bank account.
First time I'm hearing that, but okay.
Right? So
it's not an age.
It's a number in your bank account. So if you have your financial independence number, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit how to get, sitting in your account or in your investments, right? It doesn't have to be in your account, but sitting in your investments, you can retire. And that could be at 35, 45, 50. You know what I mean? That doesn't have to be at when the government tells you you can retire. So that's one thing that we need to start unlearning, is that we have control over when we decide to retire and not when the government or our employer tells us to retire. The government and employers have it set up that, for instance, you can't touch your 401k until you're this age. You can't apply for Social Security until you're this age. Okay, but I can also set myself up with my savings and investment that I don't have to rely on that money. I can rely on the money that I've saved and invested until I reach that age. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's definitely possible. I know some people might think, oh, on my salary, it's not possible for me to retire. Say like a 30-year-old is listening to this right now. It's not possible for me to retire at 40. Yes, there's people who have, with normal jobs, retired in 8 to 10 years from when they start their, what they call FIRE journey. So I want you guys to write this down. The FIRE movement is, if you Google it, it's like big. Over the past, I would say like 5 to 10 years, it's become a movement.
Taking notes.
FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And the thing that we need to realize is that becoming financially free is a numbers game, right? So I know like making money and saving money and investing can seem so overwhelming, but like it's literally simple math. It's basically income minus expenses. Your goal is to increase the amount of money you have left over so that you can save and invest. So if there's different steps that you can take to get there, and I'll go through this article that I found that has 9 steps to financial freedom, where you kind of go through those steps, right? But if you really focus for whatever amount of time you think it's going to take you, you can reach that goal. You will start to do things that will get you there. But first, you got to believe it. And that's why that money mindset episode is very important. Right. Because a lot of people are like, nah, I can retire in 10 years? Nah, that can't happen.
Well, not with the job I have.
See, there you go. Change your mindset, girl.
Change your mindset. Or change your job, girl.
Yes, that's the other thing. Like, change your job or pick
change
up
your
a
mindset.
side
Definitely
hustle.
is changing your lifestyle. So yeah, you could definitely change your mindset, but your changing your mindset would be to change your lifestyle, change what you're doing on your daily life.
So that mindset shift, you shift. Once you shift your mindset from I can't do it to I can do it, right? Then you start to attract or think of ways to do it. Think about something that in the past you used to think, I can't do it. Like you, Claudia, you literally bought 2 houses in like 1 year. 3, 4, 5 years ago, did you think that you would be able to buy 2 houses in the span of a year?
I never thought I would be able to buy a house, at least until like older, and then all of a sudden I have 2 properties and I'm like, oh my God, I have 2 properties. What am I doing? It's still scary.
Did that come with a mindset change, or would you say maybe it was already, it's been in your mind, but you just made like a, sometimes investments, why people are so afraid of investments, because it's, what is it? Like a jump into something, like a risk that you take. So was it a mindset that got you to where you are with the 2 properties, or was it just taking a risk? And was it a mindset, fine, I guess? Was it a mindset change?
Okay, but he had to have it said something or done something that made you believe that this was possible?
Yeah, because we're both on, we don't want to work after a certain age. And we both think, he says it, but like we both think the same way. The kids need something to have, and property is something to have. So if we're not handling the properties, the kids will. But by that time, we are going to be financial free to be able to live where we want to be. So because we believe the same vision, we were able to buy the two properties. And I was able to jump out of that fear of like, oh my God, owning properties is so much work. It is, I agree. But it's something we can do because I believed in him, and I believed in myself. So that's the only reason why I always wanted a one family. I mean, I was down for a property, but just not being a landlord.
But I think you wanted that one family because you just want that lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
You weren't thinking, I want that one family because it's going to be an investment property, or I can leave it to my kids. I'm sure you thought of that too, but like you weren't thinking of it in a sense of
The sense of money
how
coming
he was
in,
thinking
yeah,
of it.
how he
Yeah.
was thinking it, and then putting it together, I'm like, yeah, well, it makes sense. If we're gonna buy it, might as well buy the money it's coming in. It's gonna be bringing in money.
That's a good segue to, we all have partners. How, or even past partners, or before you had a partner, like what do you think of money and talking to partners? Like, how do you feel like you should manage your finances when you have a partner? Because I know like some people are like, even though we're married, he pays his own bills, I pay my own bills. Or, some people are like, nope, we just put all our money together and then we pay from there. Some people do a combination of both. How do you think that flows? And do you think it's like easy? Do you have a money routine with your partner? Like, how is that for you? Is it a challenge?
Definitely a challenge. When you have two I'm not narrow-minded, but strong
She said
focus.
two.
Me too, right? So
Two,
you,
like, because we're both full, like we align together, but we have different visions on how to get to it. Like we
yeah,
have the same purpose, but my vision is different from his,
yeah,
and we collapse, and we're like, boom. But I'm like, at the end, we have the same vision, and that's where I come in, because I'm the one that's like, well, we have the same vision. There's got to be a compromise somewhere. I'm willing to do this if you're willing to do that. And it
okay,
doesn't go as smooth, but it just works for us. Like we're not one of those couples that everything goes into one account.
yeah,
I handle certain things that he will never know how to handle, and he handles certain things that I dib in, but I don't want to take into. I'm just gonna let him do it. So I don't know. It's kind of
well,
weird.
that's
It
good. At
works.
least, yeah, you guys kind of know, not your place, but like you have your strengths and your focus, and he has his, but ultimately you guys have the same goal, which is tough when you and your partner don't have the same goal. I think the first step is you guys have to get to that same goal.
That's huge. That's definitely huge. Even
As
for
long
you to
as that.
start, yes, it's like right now, it's like move on your own, and who's to follow will follow. Your family will always be there. The person who loves you, are definitely going to be there. So just make moves and change your mindset. But definitely, Naya, you said that same goal probably helps you get there faster, right?
What's your experience with like, are you the type that regardless if I'm in a relationship or not, I'm going to handle my money though, as if it's just me and you do your thing? What works for you?
Well, different things have worked for me. Like different relationships have had different like plannings with the money. There's been one that all our money goes into one account. All we pay all our bills from that same account. All our savings is again in the same account. We save together in the same account. Then there's been a relationship as far as okay, see, this is the account for bills. It will be split. You're gonna put your half of all the bills in that account, and I'm gonna put the half of all my bills in that account. And yeah, there's been a relationship was like, hey, it's my life, it's what I want. I'll pay my bills. You want to contribute, you do. If you don't want, it's kind of me deciding to be in that situation, right? I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna keep doing me. I'm gonna keep making money, saving what I can without having that plan. But what works best and what I like most is definitely do we have a goal? Let's make a goal. Let's talk about it. Yes, even if we're, like you would say, splitting everything in half, but still, we got to have a goal. We got to have a plan. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's key, because when you don't have that goal or that thing that you're working towards, then it's easy for you to switch things up. It's easy for you to just do whatever you want. But if you know, ultimately, this is why, we're saving this amount, or this is why we're, splitting it like this, then you almost like don't need to question things. You know what I'm saying? You already have that in place. Now, for me, it's been interesting because the way I earn money is different from the way my partner earns money. So it was hard for us to be like, okay, put all our money into one account. And I feel like, for me, again, couples can do whatever they want, but in order for you as a person to like kind of keep your independence, there has to be some type of, yes, we have an account for bills, but I need my own account. Sorry. Like, I need my own savings. I need my own checking in terms of spending. Like, I don't want to have to
explain why I bought
this or whatever. If I'm going shopping, like, I don't want to have to be like, so I have my own money for that. We did come to an agreement that this is how much each of us is going to put in so we can pay our bills and we do have a goal. And to be honest, like, we've always like had money conversations, but we never really got to a point where we were, let me just say, on the same page until we became serious about our financial freedom, until we got to the point that we were like, we need to do something to get ourselves to that end point, because we knew we didn't want to work till, what is the retirement age? 66, 67?
65.
Yeah, like
67 now.
You see? So like, I'm not trying to work till I'm 67 and then enjoy my life for what, 10, 20 years? Like, no, I want to, I mean, I've been enjoying my life, but you know what I mean? Free of work. So when we like got serious about that, then we started putting more, I wouldn't say rules, but like we said, okay, we're going to put this much towards our mortgage. We're going to put this much in investing. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to look for ways to increase our income. You know what I mean? And then we developed routines. And most of it is on me, because that's just how I am. We have an annual, like, we meet every year towards the end of the year, beginning of the year, to set our yearly financial goals. So we set a plan for the year. We talk about, okay, what are the things we want to do this year? How many trips do we want to take? How much money do we want to save? Is there any work we want to do in the house? You know, just what are we trying to do this year? And we kind of get on the same page when it comes to that. And then we set a plan, and we basically work that plan throughout the year. Honestly, I wish we were the type of couple that would meet like monthly or quarterly, but I know he's not about that life.
And you do enough meetings already.
I know, right? I'm like, always in a meeting. I'm in a meeting. But yeah, but I think it's important, especially for couples, to have that routine and to have that goal. So get on a goal with your partner. If you don't have it yet, you guys are partners for a reason. I mean, let me just say married, because dating or the boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, that might be a little different. But if you are married, you've committed yourselves for life. So
or a committed relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be
right.
married.
It doesn't have to be married, but you have that commitment that you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person. Then you guys should really be on the same page when it comes to how you want to live your life. Like, the reason why you guys decided to be together is because you want to live your life with that person. So why would you not plan how you want to live your life with that person? So speaking of goals and all that stuff, I want to talk a little bit about finding your financial independence number. So you might be wondering,
$1 million.
Okay, it could be that.
I was going to say that.
But I'm gonna give you the steps to figure it out. So remember when I said retirement is not an age, it's a number in your bank account? So we're going to figure out that number. So this might take a little bit of work, and it's not going to be an exact science. It's not going to be an exact number, right? Because you're pretty much trying to predict how much money you're going to need in your future, and you don't
won't be able to figure out that number.
Why?
Just letting you know. I mean, I'll do your exercise, but
Okay,
I'm already
so
like, it's
all
not gonna
right.
happen.
I want to know why, but the reason why I had you guys do the what would your day look like if you didn't have to work is because it will help you to determine how much money you're going to need in the future, right? So if you say, I want to retire in 10 years, right? I'm 40 years old. I want to retire when I'm 50. You need to, it doesn't, again, it doesn't have to be exact. You want to imagine what your life is going to be like when you're 50. Like, what kind of life do you want to live when you're 50? Some people will say, I want to go to the movies every week, right? So how much do movie tickets cost? Okay, you want to put that in there, right? You want to give yourself an entertainment budget. In 10 years, will you have a mortgage? Maybe your mortgage will be paid off, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you still pay rent, if you still pay mortgage, you want to incorporate that into your expenses. So basically, doing that exercise of what you want your life to be like will help you determine what your expenses are going to be. And some people just do this based on what their expenses are now and maybe add a couple percentages just to account for inflation, right? So you run through what your life is going to be. You run through your expenses. So let's say you need $4,000 a month to live.
After you calculate all of your expenses.
Yeah, like rent, mortgage, car payment, car insurance, food, entertainment, phone. You get a ballpark. Again, it doesn't have to be exact science. It could just be around how much you could look at how much you're spending every month. You could look at how much you spent last year. Did it increase? And maybe it's increasing 2% every year, whatever. So let's say we spend $4,000 a month, or we anticipate we're going to spend $4,000 a month in retirement. Multiply that by 12. So you're going to need $48,000 a year to say I'm retired. So financial independence is when you're able to produce that amount of money without actually working for it. So either through your investments in your stocks, or through your tenants are paying you rent, or you have a business that money comes in every month. So when you add up all your investments, you're making $4,000 a month, and that's why you don't have to work. So in order to determine how much you need in investments to retire, you take that $48,000 and you multiply it by 25. So for somebody who needs $48,000 a year, they would need to have $1.2 million invested.
God damn.
The reason why we say 25 is the number because it's called the rule of 4%. So most investments, if your money is invested well, and this is mostly speaking for money that's invested in the stock market. So the stock market is going to average 7 to 10% yearly interest. And just to give you guys an idea, this last year, the stock market averaged a return of 20%. I mean, I could be off here and there, but around 20%. That's crazy, right? 20%. If you had invested your money in the stock market at the beginning of the year, you would have pretty much gotten 20% interest rate. And how much are you getting with your money in the bank account? Not even 1%. Okay, that's nothing. That's literally inflation.
It's really 2 pennies to whatever.
Not even, girl. And inflation is what? On average, 2 to 3%. But this year, inflation was crazy as well. I mean, this past year. So you're losing that money. And imagine 20%. If you had money that made 20% just sitting in the stock market. But that doesn't mean it happens every year, right? Like this year, it's gonna be a down market because we've been going up and up and up. But here's the thing with the stock market is even though there's years that it goes up and down, on average, if you look back to the beginning of the stock market, the average return is 7 to 10%. So
the average.
Let's say you're making 7%. The goal is to withdraw 4%. That's why I said that 25. You multiply by 25 because you're going to be taking 4% of your investments out every year
to live.
So to live, right? So if you're increasing every year by 7% and you're withdrawing 4%, you're only touching
saving 3.
The 3 is there for inflation. Because inflation is going to make your money be less. So right there, you're literally only touching the money you're making. You're not even touching your initial investment.
Your initial investment being?
Your number. So let's say it's $1 million. You have $1 million invested in the stock market. On average, you're increasing that $1 million by 7%.
Okay.
So you're adding 7% on top of that, but you're taking 4% to live off of.
Mm-hmm.
And then that 3% is inflation. So right there, you're not even touching your $1 million. Like, this is what people need to understand. You continue to keep your $1 million.
All right. So before the $1 million shows up, that's what you mean by us figuring out our, what's that?
Financial FI number.
FI number.
So that's just to give you an idea. If I know I want to retire and be able to take $48,000 a year, I know I need to have this much money invested, right? Now, that's one way. If you have property, let's say, that you're receiving income from your tenants, that can account for, let's say, half of that money. So now maybe you only need $500,000 in the stock market plus your property, because your property is giving you that $24,000 a year, and then your investments is giving you a $24,000 a year. So that's why it's important to know your financial independence number, because now you know what you need to make passively.
Mm-hmm.
So passively, I need to make $4,000 a month. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So once you know that, you have your goal.
Cool.
So if you and your partner can't agree, let's say, on, what we should do with our money, or, on anything, then at least try to agree on that, because that will be a first step. So then you guys will at least be like, okay, you have a number, and it may not be perfect, and it might change. It's fine. But at least now you have something to work towards, and it makes it easier to kind of make plans around it.
Nice. All right.
So it's an easy formula, but the hard part is actually figuring out your expenses. So that might be another day, setting a budget, right? Creating a budget for yourself.
It's actually not it's not a hard part. It's just a little bit of work. Yeah, I mean, you pay your bills every month, every week. It's just collecting data.
But some people don't know where their money is going.
Yeah, it's figuring that out.
Because people literally, they get a paycheck, they spend it, right? They get a paycheck, they spend it. Oh, I have a little bit left. I'll put $50 in the savings account, or you know what I mean? Like, there's no
fixed nothing. It's as it comes, it goes.
And it could be as it comes.
Bills. Yeah, like this week I work to pay the car. Next week I work, I'll pay the rent. Following week I'll pay my utilities, and then the last week whatever. So each week you might have a little bit left over that you put in your savings, but then they don't know what they're saving on coffee or shopping or giving gifts to people or anything else. They don't know that. So it's hard. Yeah, it can be hard to figure that out if you don't get control of whatever's left after you pay your bills.
Control is one thing, but also you have to assign your money, right? You have to assign your money a job. You have to tell it what you want it to do. So if you know you make $4,000 a month, how much of that money are you assigning to your savings? How much of that money are you assigning for your utilities? You know what I mean? And you have to really, going into the 9 steps to financial freedom, the first one is understanding where you are presently, right? So you have to know where you are before you know how to move, how to go towards those goals. Like I said, for people who don't know where their money's going, you don't know where you are. And the best thing to do is, like you said,
to figure out where you are.
How much is your income and how much are your expenses?
Is figuring out your budget. No.
Budget comes after you know where you are.
Okay, so how do you understand where you are? What's the easy, like, if you could give me one sentence, like start here.
So what I like to say is look at your spending for the past 3 months, because you can't just look at 1 month, because things change. You might have bought something this month that you don't typically buy or whatever. So you look at your expenses for the past 3 months. How much did you make? Start with that. Always start with your income. In 3 months, how much money did you make? And then how much money did you spend on rent? Now you're adding up your expenses. How much money did you spend on rent? How much money did you spend on your car? How much money did you spend on food? You add up all your expenses. Is your income more than your expenses? Perfect, because that left over, now you can assign it a job. You can say, okay, of my $4,000, I spent $3,000, and your debt, you got to include your debt in there.
Cool. So that's number one, figuring out where you are by how much money did I make?
How much
money did I spend?
And how much money do I have left over?
Yeah.
If you have any left over.
You subtract, yeah. Or if you have any left over. What's number 2?
pen down your goals. So we kind of already talked a little bit about this. You're starting to write down your goals when you first figure out, how you want to live your life, right? Well, how you want to spend your money. So you write down, what you need your money to do. And so if you have debt, you might have a short-term goal to pay off that debt, right? So like, yeah, I want to pay off my debt in the next year or two. So now that money left over, you can assign that money to pay down the debt. And debt is another thing all in itself. So that's two. You write down your goals. You know where you are. I know how much money I make. I know how much money I spend. I write down my goals, what I want to achieve, in the next year. I want to pay down my debt. In the next 5 years, I want to buy a property. In the next 10 years, I want to retire. Or whatever the case may be, you write it down because you guys know the important thing about goals is
they have to be smart.
They have to be smart, but writing them down just makes them more real. Yeah. And then you start tracking. Well, this says track your spending, which is important because once you know where your money's going, you can then say, okay, I don't need to be going to Starbucks every day. Or, some people don't even know how much money they spend on eating out. And I've seen like a lot of times when you sit down and you add up the amount of money you spend eating out, you're going to be like, what?
For real.
Some people spend more money eating out than they do on groceries.
Yeah. And it's funny because now, like right now, banks or apps will tell you, this was how much you spent eating out. This was how much you spent at the grocery store. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and that's good too. A lot of these banks have tools to help you with tracking and managing your expenses. You could even set budgets right on your app so you know if you're going over or not. So tracking your expenses is important, and then paying yourself first. So this one is something I kind of struggle with because I'm more of the person that like whatever's for. Three was track your spending. Track your spending.
I thought that just falls right with like in the process of of figuring out, understanding where you are.
Understanding where you are is like, okay, that's like, okay.
I have a job that pays me this much and all my bills are this much. Okay.
Yeah, I have debt, like I have student loan debt, I have a mortgage. How much is my debt? Like just really getting a picture of where you are.
So that leaves us with number 3, which is track your
spending. Like start tracking your spending because now that you know where you are, okay, I'm spending so much money in restaurants.
And you know where you want to be as far as your goal, then you can.
Yeah. So I don't want to spend $500 a month anymore eating out. Maybe I only want to spend $200. So look at that $300. Now you have that to pay debt, to save, invest, or whatever. But know where you are, write down your goals, track your spending. The next step is to pay yourself first. So like I was saying, I'm good with budgeting. Like I set a yearly budget. I do monthly budgets, weekly budgets, blah, 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 all that. But I tend to be the person that will, okay, whatever money I have left over, that's what I send to savings and investing. But a lot of like financial experts will say, pay yourself first. You received $1,000 in your paycheck, right off the bat, take $100 and put it in your savings. Like don't wait till the end of the month because you'll probably end up spending that $100. You know what I mean? So just pay yourself.
So paying yourself is putting money in the savings
or stock market?
Oh, yeah. So if you have, let's say, a 401k or an IRA, a lot of times that money is coming out before you even get paid. So that's an awesome way to be paying yourself first. I mean, I do that. I have a 401k, but on top of that, I also like to pay myself. You know what I mean? Like I like to save and invest on my own aside from my 401k. That makes sense. So whatever your savings routine is, or whatever you say, okay, of my $1,000, I want to save $200. You got to do that first. You're obligated to pay your bills, but why are you so accountable to other people, to other companies, but you're not accountable to yourself? If you're not paying yourself, if you're not saving your money, then you're not putting yourself first, which we know you got to have that relationship with yourself, right? It's the most important relationship, is that relationship with self. Another step is to spend less money. So I talked a little bit about this, right? So wherever you can decrease your expenses, you obviously want to, because in the end, you're going to end up with more money. But there's only so much you could cut back. So sometimes people need to realize that you might not have a spending problem. You might have an earning problem. You might have an income problem. So don't just look at it from the sense that, I need to spend less money, but how can you make more money? How about that? Because it works both ways. You can increase your savings by decreasing your expenses as well as increasing your pay. So can you get a side hustle? Can you get a new job? Can you ask for a raise?
Yes, you can, but you may not. No.
Do you have experience with that, Manila?
With no, I actually I've never asked for a raise all my life. I've been having the desire to ask for a raise because I know I'm worth more, but I've never been in the situation that I've asked for a raise. I don't know how to ask for a raise.
So you're worth more, but yet you're not asking for a raise, or why?
I don't know.
Well, go within. You need to go within.
Go within.
No, it's true. You literally said I'm worth more.
Yes, it's because of what I hear going around. For example, like there's the annual raise that you get the annual raise, but then it's trying to cut back here. Or when I initially started was, we can't afford you, but this is what we can offer. You went with it, so you went with it. You know what I mean? They told you we can't afford you, but this is what we can offer you because we really want to have you. So then it's like, all right, it's not that I don't know I should ask for a raise, is how to go about doing it is why I haven't asked for a raise.
And you and we've had private conversations about what you can do.
Yeah, definitely.
So you know now.
Definitely.
So if you know you're worth more, you know what your goals are, you don't want to work for the rest of your life, then you need to make it a priority to make more money if you feel like you can make more money.
Yeah.
But if you think you can reach your goals,
definitely other things that come with. Sometimes it's not asking for a raise, it's changing what you do altogether. It's getting a new job altogether. And sometimes but then you start looking at, but this job gives me opportunity to do this and be this way and do what I want, versus that job's going to pay me what I'm worth, but it's going to take away me being able to do this and enjoying this and doing what I want.
Yeah. And I think that's the ultimate battle that people face is they may be in a low paying job, but they enjoy their work.
Exactly.
It's fulfilling.
Exactly.
But are you willing to sacrifice that for a few years, take on a job that's not so fulfilling, to get to a point where you can spend the rest of your life doing the work that is fulfilling? So that's a trade-off you might have to consider. Or
I think that's my mindset that I need to consider, mindset change that I need to consider is exactly that.
Because some people who pursue FIRE will work really, really, really hard, either taking on multiple jobs, other investments, changing their work for, let's say, 5 to 8 years to build up that money they need to invest, and then they stop working. So
and now you said pursue FIRE. If you're just tuning in or you didn't really, the FIRE was the
financial independence, retire early.
The plan that you said we should research, right? I just wanted to remind our listeners of when you said some people who pursue FIRE. What? FIRE, pursue FIRE. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
You know what she's talking about here. Job.
Yeah, that when
not fired. Yeah, exactly. Pursue FIRE.
Financial independence. And some people, they become financially independent, but they continue to work. So it's not, I don't want you guys to think.
That would definitely be me. Yeah.
So like you said, you enjoy the work that you're doing, but is it enough to stay in that same sort of line of work until you can, quote unquote, retire based on what the government says, 67 years old? Or are you willing to sacrifice the next 5 to 10 years of your life?
10?
I'm just saying that.
Okay.
It can be whatever.
The way you're breaking it down, like you said, 1 to 2 years, you should be on a good path to, you'd be doing a sacrifice to get you on the good path.
I'm saying 5 to 10 years, but it could be whatever timeline based on your number. That's why it's important you have that number, because you know how much money you need coming to you passively that you don't have to worry about a job. You know what I mean? You want to set yourself up that your investments are taking care of you rather than you constantly chasing the paycheck to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely spend less, but look for ways to make more money. Next is pay off your debt. Oh my God, this is debt just like gets under my skin. I I hate debt with a passion. Because debt is so crippling. Like it's mentally exhausting, right? Because you constantly have that in the back of your mind, like I owe, I owe, I owe. And debt, depending on the type of debt, is becoming more and more expensive because of the interest rate. So each month, even though you're paying it, you're owing more because each month they're adding interest. So paying off your debt is key. Imagine going into financial freedom with no debt.
Well, you couldn't go into financial freedom with that, can you?
If you account for it, yeah. Like let's say you have a mortgage, that's debt. That could be part of your number.
So financial freedom, well, to me means you don't have a mortgage to pay, right?
It's an expense.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But debt, like credit card debt, student loan debt, car debt. Like I ain't about that life, but to each his own. If you wanna budget $300 to $400 a month for a car loan, then yeah, fine. But I'm talking about like credit card debt, like debt from stuff you bought a year ago.
Mm.
Like you're still paying those sneakers that you bought last year because it's on your credit card. Like that is so bad. And credit card interest is like 20%.
24, 29, yeah.
Like, come on.
It's a step for you to get to fully indulging in that money in the end. So like you have to do all of these things prior to you saying, I have no debt and now I'm retired or I'm not, I'm financial free. That means that money's coming in from wherever you've invested or your savings that you've had from your 401k. You're not paying for anything but the stuff that you need to live.
Yes, perfect. And debt is not something you need to live. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You don't need to live with debt. The other step is what we just finished talking about, Vanilla. Always keep your career moving forward. So don't stay stagnant. Like continue to increase your income, continue to find ways to make more money. Another one is create additional sources of income. So real estate, right? Business.
Is that number 7?
Number 7 was always keep your career moving forward, but creating additional sources of income. So when we discussed social media, remember we talked about we live in a age where people are making money online. So create a little bit of income for yourself from online, whether it's, having a business online, selling a digital product, or, whatever the case may be. That's another way that you can create additional sources of income. And the best thing to do is, you can pick up other jobs, and that should be like short term, right? Because when you're retired, you don't want to be worried about working. So you might have to work a second job for a temporary amount of time. Some people will pick up another job they're going to say, oh, the income that I receive from the second job is to pay down my debt, right? So now they know it's going to take me 2 years to pay down my debt. So I'm going to work this job for 2 years and all that money is going to go towards that debt. So really having that plan in place. And then the last step, which is not the most important, they're all important, but the last step is to invest.
Invest, girl.
I cannot say this enough, is to invest. A lot of people say the fastest way to reach financial independence is to save and invest about at least half of your income. So one thing I'm trying to teach my kids from the beginning, since they've been getting money like for birthday, Christmas, and things like that, I always tell them, take half of that money and save it. Like I want them growing up with this mentality that I'm always saving half of my income. And the earlier you start saving and investing,
the better it is.
The better it is. So imagine a 20-year-old saves and invests $2,000 a month. By the time they're 30, if they live like a normal life, they can retire at 30.
Yeah.
She'll go live with mom and dad. You're 20 years old. You can still live with mom and dad.
Some people do that. Get a good job, live with your parents. You're not paying rent. You're not paying food. You're not paying utilities. All that money is literally going to the stock market. in safe investments. And we'll talk about that on another episode, because there are ways to safely invest that your money isn't, you're not going to lose your money like people think they are, because we make sure we invest in the right things. You can retire 5 to 10 years as a 20, 30-year-old. Like it's possible. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to work for the rest of your life. It just means that, okay, if I
you're
don't want to work
doing what you want to do. Yeah.
Right. And you don't depend on money.
You don't sacrifice the things you love.
And you can go to school and study whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like imagine that. I know you love school, Vanilla. Imagine you could just go to school just to learn, not because you're trying to find a job. You're just learning just to learn.
For real. Read books for fun. Learn how to like get certifications of all sorts of stuff for fun.
And you don't know. You might end up stumbling upon something that you're like, wow, I really love doing this work. And you will do it for free because you love it so much.
The money's coming in, so you're not really stressing about getting paid.
And that's the thing. Like I hear about a lot of people who, even though they're retired, they're doing all these things that they love, that they're generating income. Like they didn't even expect to generate the income, because they're not putting pressure on themselves. Oh, I have to go to work. I have to go to work. I have to go do this thing that I'm not completely passionate about because I need money to survive. Like once we free ourselves from that mentality and we have a goal, we stick to it, we work at it, we will get to that point. One thing that I do is I track my net worth. So a lot of the banks and apps, they have tools that you can track your net worth, which is a good way to see like month over month that your investments are increasing, because sometimes you don't feel it when you're living it day to day. But if you're tracking your savings and investments, then you're like, wow. So in my little tracker, I have my FI number that we just figured out, right, guys? I have my financial independence number in there, and then I'm tracking all my investments, and then I'm seeing how close I am to that goal. So it's like a little game.
And another mindset too that we can get into is, it doesn't matter how much money you're making, because a lot of people are like, no, my job only pays me enough to pay my bills and do it, live paycheck by paycheck. You can still figure it out what it is living paycheck by paycheck. Anybody can do it, and everybody should do it.
You're right, because there are people who make, let's say, $100,000 a year, but their expenses are $100,000 a year. So that person is living paycheck to paycheck, where there are people making $30,000 a year, but they're saving $10,000 a year because they only live on 20. Like, come on, who's rich? The person that makes 100,000 or the person that makes 30,000? In my eyes, if you're able to save 10,000 a year,
you're richer than
the person that's getting more money. Yeah.
So being rich is not living a lifestyle. It's again the number in your bank account.
Right. So that person, that person making 30,000 has a 10,000 in their account, where the $100,000 person has zero.
Exactly.
So who's more financially independent? So that's why I don't think I touched on this, but lifestyle creep, like as you're increasing your income. So a lot of people experience this, where as they're moving along in their career and they're making more money, they're also increasing their expenses too, because they're like, okay, now I got this raise. Now
I can afford it.
Right. So now I can buy a bigger house. Right. So now instead of paying $1,000 for their mortgage, now their mortgage is $1,500. Oh, now I can get a nicer car. Right. So now you're still, even though you're making more money, you're still where you were because you've increased your expenses.
You're spending more money. Yeah.
So that's why that savings rate is very important. So once you start to track this, you can start to say, well, what is my savings rate? How much money am I saving each month compared to how much money am I making? And if you can get yourself to a 50% savings rate, you'll be good. Some people to achieve financial independence, retire early, FIRE, they're saving like 70 to 90%. It sounds crazy, right?
Of what they bring in.
But the more you save and invest. I say save, but guys, you cannot just stick your money in a bank. You have to invest it. I don't care if you're investing
in a safe.
No, don't put
in your house.
Don't do that.
A lot of people still. I would love to know the percentage. That a lot of people do that.
But that's why
it's only 2% in the bank, so might as well keep it at home.
I know, it's the point. But no, trust me, your money can work for you. Like, I really want people to start learning more about the stock market and that there are safe ways to invest and put your money in a place that it's going to make money for you. Like I was looking at my
So look at
401k.
you now, then a passive income. Passive income could be
Yeah,
creating just that, teaching people how to. You
I
love
mean,
it.
creating it would be the active part, right? But once it's out in the world, it's passive. But just to give you guys an idea, like I was looking at my 401k and how it performed last year, right? The money that I made in interest and dividends, right, was more than how much I put into it.
Yeah.
So it's making more money than what I'm putting into it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And that's the beauty of investing in the right place. Again, not in a
Right.
savings account.
Yeah. So investing in the right place, again, there's many different ways you can go about it, that you are putting your money in a place where it's not losing value and it's, gaining value. But another topic for another day. But yeah, so that's the lesson for today. I know it was a very teachy episode, but I think it's important for us to hear these things, especially in our community, especially if you're a young person listening to this. If you are in your 20s, if you're in your teens, you are in the best time to start investing, because money invested is just going to increase more and more over time. So time is definitely on your side. Not to say that if you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you can't do it, because you can. You're just going to have to put a little bit more money than someone who's younger.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, you got to invest your time in it to actually learn it.
But isn't money such an important part of our lives? Why wouldn't you take the time to learn about it?
I know. I think it's because they don't make, as young as you are, they don't make it as important, even though money is important. They don't teach you it young enough. Because I think the younger you learn this, the better it is. Like, I feel like I'm so many steps behind all of this financial talk that if they had given this to me when I was in high school, I would
Or
have been
even
a different
college.
person. Like right now, I wouldn't be in the messes that I've created, but it is hard.
It is what
Like
it is.
I'm learning a lot over the years, buying properties and trying, like, again, I'm working 2 different jobs, but one is like the money that I should be saving. So it's balanced itself, I guess, to what I was making for the other job, because I did take a cut, but now I'm making more than what I made on the other job. Now it's just settling everything in, because I just moved into the new house and being the new owner and things like that. So once I get that together, I will be in a better space for my future, I believe. And I can invest more in the things I want to invest. Because as of right now, I think I'm only doing my 401k and things like that, but I want to do the investment.
I don't want you to think like, oh, I'm only, because some people aren't even doing that. You know what I mean? Like, that's why it's important to sit down and actually put this stuff on paper, because then you start to see, okay, I am investing my 401k. I am invested in real estate. Okay, maybe I can supplement a little bit more investing here, but you get a clearer picture of where you are. And what you said about like teaching kids financial literacy and how important that is the key. And you guys know I was teaching this before the pandemic. Like, I was teaching kids about this stuff, just basics. What is a bank account? How to read your paycheck? What does it mean to pay taxes? Did we know this stuff when we started working? Like, no. Taking the money pre-tax investing versus after-tax investing, like all that stuff is important. Like, the financial literacy is lacking. Now, over the years, it's gotten a lot better because of the internet, and people are able to reach more people through social media and things like that. Like, there's people that I follow that I've learned so much about, and they're people that look like you and me. You know what I mean? Like, back in the day, the minority community did not have people talking about investing in the stock market. And now there's a lot of people out there doing that work, which is amazing. But yeah, definitely think that the schools can do a better job, like have a class that's dedicated to achieving financial freedom, to investing.
Right. They're investing in teaching them math, which they probably never going to use after they get out of school. These things they're going to use forever to better their lives, and I'm sorry, but I think the private schools, those type of schools, are far ahead with those kids than our public schools. That's something that needs to be addressed, and hopefully our kids could, pick up from what we're doing to better themselves.
And the other thing that's important too, and like what you're doing, is investing in property and having that to pass down to our kids, having the financial freedom and the finances to be able to help our kids with buying their own property, whether that be living at home, saving up so you can have that down payment and not have to worry about paying rent while you're doing that.
Yeah.
But the kids need to have that education to know that this is why you need to buy property. You know what I mean? Like, this is why you need property. And then make that decision that, okay, yes, I want to buy a 3-family as my first property. I'm going to live with my parents, save up the down payment, and then move into the first apartment and rent out the other 2 apartments. And you're literally living rent free, working, not having to pay rent. It's called house hacking. And what are you doing with that money? You're putting it in the stock market, so in 10 years you can retire. You know what I mean? Like, it's simple steps like that we need to outline for our kids. Okay, that's one way you can do it. Here's another way you can do it. Like, we weren't given that education.
Nope. Nobody taught me that credit line was your life, practically, in the
Credit.
United States. Like, if you have a
Yes.
credit line, you're good for anything. If you don't have any credit, you are doomed, because cash isn't going to give you anything. So all of that stuff is learning as we got older. But I did not know that when I was younger.
Credit, having a good credit
That
score.
mentality, money was work hard for your money.
Yeah, right. You have it in your hand. It's yours. Money, that's yours. I'm like, no, it's not doing anything for you.
You can't go buy a house with just cash unless you've been saving forever.
Unless you have the cash, then you can. You can buy a house. If you have the money to buy cash, then you have the money to buy cash.
Okay, you think at 25 years old, you're going to have $300,000 to go buy a house?
Yeah, if you inherit it from.
But we're not talking about that, because we ain't nobody inheriting nothing over here.
There's no generational wealth here. Like, we're now establishing it as African Americans and immigrants. For us, we're establishing that for our kids.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're at the point that now we have to be the ones that are creating that generational wealth, because that didn't happen for us. You know what I mean? We didn't have that. A lot of these other communities, their parents have houses. They do have trust funds. They have all these things. Their parents are paying for their colleges. So they're going into the world at zero or a little bit plus, where if you come out of college with debt, you're starting your life in a negative state. You're stuck. Like, that's one thing I do not want my kids to have, is student loans. Not at all. Like, just to see, like, over the years, like, how it's impacted, not necessarily my life. Good thing, like, I had some sense to focus on paying it down and paying it early, but like, just people in my life that continue to struggle with it, and stories that I hear about people about that, because it doesn't help you in your career. Like, you're constantly thinking, well, I'm just going to take this job because I need to pay this off. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to be fulfilled in the work you're doing. And if the work you're doing is not paying, I don't want you to be a prisoner to your loan payments every month.
Well, it is, the topic too, when it comes to school loans or debts. You want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, it's gonna come with, the career. You just have to go look at it as not a debt, but again, you have to look at it as an expense
or an investment in yourself.
Yeah.
So it's being able to manage that well in a way that you're like, okay, I have $100,000 in debt.
And they're asking me to pay this much, but I can make this much payment because I'm earning. So it's an expense.
But I don't, like, a lot of people, while they're in school, and I'm sure our generation experienced this, where you're just like, oh, you take the loan, even though you have extra money left over in the loan, instead of like paying back the loan, nope, you're using the money to go, have fun, do whatever. But if we know what's to come after college, then we're like, you know what? You want to be out of college with as little to no debt as possible, because that's like debt. And again, we'll get more into this on another topic. Like, debt weighs on people, not just financially, but emotionally. Like, it has so much effect on you because you're carrying that weight around. It's not physical weight, but you are, whether you want to believe it or not, like, debt is something that you are carrying around with you. And if you don't tackle it, or you don't have a plan for it, it's only going to get worse. Like, or either you're physically or mentally, emotionally going to feel worse about it, or it itself is going to grow and get worse. So that's a whole other topic. But yeah, guys, so any questions that we might have on financial freedom and taking our first steps towards reaching it?
We got some homework to continue.
Homework. No, it was interesting. I hope it was inspirational and interesting to our viewers as well, our listeners, I mean. But you could view us on YouTube.
But yeah, definitely we'll leave the resources, the article that we went over, any notes about like financial independence and finding your FI number. Also too, there's different calculators you could use. Let's say you have $10,000. Let's say, as an example, like let's say I have $10,000 right now and I plan to invest that $1,000. How long is it going to take me to reach my goal, my FI number? So there are calculators that kind of help you figure that out as well. So I'll leave some links for that. But yeah, so hopefully like the information that we went over inspired you, gave you a little bit of insight and a little kick in the butt to get moving if you're not already on that path. If you are, like Vanilla said, I know there's a lot of people out there that have this information and know about this stuff. Like any feedback you have for us, any resources, let us know. Send us any of your questions to our email, shutupandthrivepodcast@gmail.com. We need to get on the ball with our stuff.
They're so long.
It's like so many. What else we got going on?
We got Instagram, Twitter,
Facebook,
all of the social media platforms.
Oh, my sister did ask me. She was like, "So where would I have to tune in to listen?" I'm like, "All of them." She goes, "Are you sure?" You've been some very. She was, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, all of them. Tune into all the different podcasts, or where you listen to your favorite podcast, you'll find us."
Yeah. And also we wanted to mention Apple, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, or even if you don't, if you can, leave us a rating and a review. Hopefully it's a five-star rating, right? Leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. That'll help us grow. It'll help more people to find us. Yeah. And share us, right? Share.
Definitely share. Yep.
Share
with all
us
your friends.
Anyone that you think would benefit from the information that we talk about on this podcast.
Thank you.
That's great, girls. Nice chat today.
Very informative. Got me thinking about my future more. I gotta invest in some more.
Claudia's in her money bag right now.
That's it. I need more money to be invested.
No, for me, it's like with all of this, it's like how many times have I had this conversation or joined lives talking about all of this many, many times, right? But it's like I love it that I'll go back to the purposes, find out how, like not find out, but like change your mindset. That's me. That's what I'm taking from this today. Is like, I think when we first did the first episode, you asked me, so what's your takeout from this? I was like, learn to not be afraid of talk about money, right? Or learn to pay attention to it, that, it's something that you need to pay attention to rather than just, oh, whatever, money goes, money comes. So but this takeout was definitely change my mindset. Change my mindset. How about you, Naya? What is your takeout?
Honestly,
I'm on track. I know what your takeout could be. You're going to start that job, that hard work in how to teach people or children. You could be focused on kids, how to be financially aware and smart.
So, I mean, I've been doing this for a while. Like I've been teaching it. I try to teach my kids. Like you guys know, I said it in the beginning of our very first episode. I love money. I love to talk about money. I love to make money, like money. But not in the sense that like I'm obsessed with money. Like I want money. Like I know what money can do for me. I know it's a tool. I know it'll get me to that point where I'm living my ideal day, right? So that's my take on money. And I've been living this for years now. But of course, I can always do better. I can always make more money. I can always do better with my expenses. So I'm always trying to figure out how can I increase my investments. Like that's my goal. I guess my focus is going to be more on making helping my investments work better for me.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my takeaway. And Claudia is going to do homework and figure out how
I'm going to make what's coming in work better for me because I know I can.
So everyone should do the FI exercise though. Like I want you guys to figure out your FI number.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And start working towards it. And then compare your FI number to where you are now, right? Because that's how much money you have invested.
Mm-hmm.
If your FI number is $1 million, how close are you to that $1 million in your investments? You don't have to tell us because, you know, finances are personal. You don't have to say it, but you should know what it is.
Finances are so personal, but if I was to win the lottery, shit's not personal.
Everybody knows.
Right?
What would you do if you won the lottery?
I would record an episode telling the whole world that I did and what I'm going to do with it.
But you
I
know
was done recording. I was no longer going to be recording these. No, I'm just kidding.
But you know the statistics that a lot of people who win the lottery, like a year or two later, that money's all gone. Yeah, so it's not about the money.
Because Nair is not teaching them about
because they don't have
the background. What do you know about your money? What are you going to do with it? Invest it correctly. Use it correct.
They're not managing it well. Take care of your tools, people. All right, guys, we've come to the end. I know I probably have a lot of editing to do on this one because
yes,
God knows how long we've been recording, but thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to follow us on social media. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Yeah, love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.